What's up, world? Welcome back to another episode of Just Grow It, the podcast. I'm your host, Big City Gardener, and today we're talking about our July planting schedule. It's hot, so that means it's time to go ahead and put on this amazing bucket hat right here. You'll notice that the planting schedules start to get shorter and shorter, and that's just because, like we said last month, it's still extremely hot out here. But there are still a few things that you can plant in your garden this month, so let's talk about them. First off, we have arugula. If you haven't noticed yet, arugula is something that we can basically grow year-round down here in Zone 9. It's a peppery leafy green that I only really like to grow in the fall, but I'm gonna throw some in my garden in a couple of days. Next, we have basil. Just like last month, you can either directly seed your basil into the garden, or you can head out to your local nursery, purchase some transplants, and plant those. Heads up, a lot of the transplants that you see at the nursery right now are not going to look the best. So, if possible, I recommend that you just directly seed this basil into your garden. Next, we have corn. That's right, you can still plant corn in your garden. So after I pull out some of these spent tomatoes and the squash that were destroyed by the squash vine borer, I'm gonna go ahead and replant the garden with corn. After that, we have cucumbers. But just like last month, we're still not able to plant all varieties of cucumber. I recommend still planting the Suyo Long or any other Armenian variety of cucumbers. Look, I have one Suyo Long cucumber plant in my garden, and every day I'm able to harvest a cucumber. Now, that's enough to feed my family of 4, well, really family of 6, but the younger 2, they don't eat cucumbers yet. Next up, we have okra. Even though I think June is a better month to plant okra than July, if you're looking for something to fill some of the space in your garden, look no further than planting some okra seeds. And as always, do not waste your money purchasing okra transplants from the nursery. Just buy a pack of seeds and plant those. Next, we have peas, more specifically, southern peas. So these include our purple hull peas, our black-eyed peas, and my favorite peas that I know you've heard me mention in the past few episodes, and those are the pigeon peas. Now, something that I don't plant this month, but a good friend of mine who's one of the best growers that I know, every July, he always plants his multiplying onions. If you don't know what multiplying onions are, you should look into them. They're a perennial onion that once you plant once, they will establish themselves in your garden and continue to give you green onions and small onion bulbs year-round. This is going to be the first year that I actually try planting these perennial onions in my garden, so I'll let you know how it goes. Now, we still have 2 varieties of squash that we can plant this month. The first one are pumpkins. Second, you guessed it, winter squash. Now, you'll notice that summer squash is not on this list. If you didn't plant your summer squash in May, you need to hold off until August. But one of the benefits of waiting until August to plant your summer squash are you don't have to deal with the squash vine borer. If I showed you my garden right now, you would see a handful of sad-looking squash plants that have been decimated by the squash vine borer. So something else that you're still able to add to your garden are sweet potato slips, one of my favorite things to grow. But this is actually the last month that you'll be able to plant your sweet potato slips. So make sure if you have any sweet potatoes in your house growing the slips that you get them in your garden this month. The earlier, the better. Another thing that you're able to plant this month that some people don't quite realize are your tomato transplants. Hopefully you already started some tomato seeds back in June, but if not, you can take a cutting from one of your tomato plants and propagate it. Once it has roots, you're able to add it to your garden in July. Now, planting your tomatoes this month allows them to establish roots so that you're able to get tomatoes throughout the fall. If you live down here in Zone 9 and you planted your tomatoes early, around February, by now, they're not really producing anymore. You know, once the temperature gets over about 80 to 90 degrees, your tomatoes stop setting fruit. So rather than trying to hold on to the tomatoes that we have in our garden now, let's go ahead, remove them, take a few cuts, propagate some new plants, and add them back into our garden in a different location so that we can get tomatoes all throughout the fall. And that's it. That's really all that you're able to plant in your garden this month. But One thing that you can start doing is prepping for your fall garden. So go ahead and order the seeds for all of your fall crops this month. But to learn about which ones you should be starting, make sure you check out the next episode where we talk about the July garden chores. That's it. Thanks for tuning in. It's hot out here, everybody. So before you go outside and get your hands in the dirt to just grow it, make sure you have one of these cool bucket hats on. Until next month, you guys take it easy.